All right. So, turns out I actually did have one more in store for you all. This one really isn't a Techter video per se, though, because I main Techter, it's going to be focused on wand and Techter attacks. But this is kind of a follow-up to the wand rotation flowchart. I know that one was a bit complicated for various reasons. But I think one of the things that's important to understand, and this is one of the things that I do, is how to prioritize attacks and really understand how attacks compare and what you should be thinking about and when you should use them. So we're going to be talking about effective DPS. We're getting into some weird theoretical fuzzy math. So for all you math people out there, yes, there are a lot of assumptions being made in this. I don't even know how accurate in the grand scheme of things this might be, but it will give you some insights. At least for me, it gives me insights on how I approach Techter. Once again, you can use this, and we'll get to the formula, with any attack for any class, any weapon. So what is effective DPS? Effective DPS focuses on attacks that generate other attacks. So for example, Swift Smash builds Element Pursuit, while Compound Techniques does not build Element Pursuit, though Compound Techniques can build Photon Blast, and you technically could do the math there, though it's not worth it. And so what we're thinking about is, okay, Swift Smash does damage, Swift Smash has its own DPS, but it's also generating Element Pursuit. Without Swift Smash, I don't have Element Pursuit. Now, of course, Swift Smash is just going to be the example for today. It can be Wave Crash. It can be Step Counter, Step Dodge. It can be your normal attacks. But once you understand this one example, you can apply it to everything else. So, essentially what we're doing is taking the potency and the frames, because once again, we're looking at effective DPS, EDPS, of Element Pursuit, and effectively applying it to Swift Smash. Now, of course, it's not that straightforward, but essentially that's how we want to look at it. That if I'm able to go from Swift Smash to Element Pursuit and look at that holistically, what is the overall DPS? Once again, there's some assumptions. This is a smooth transition. I go from Swift Smash into Element Pursuit. In practice, that's not always going to be the case, but in theory, we can work with. So what is the formula? We're going to start with the attack generator. So in this example, that would be Swift Smash. And what we need is we need potency and frames. And we'll get into the example. But then we also need the attack being produced, and we need its potency and frames. And now more importantly, or most importantly, we need what I call attack hit. This is the number of the attack generator, or Swift Smash, that is required to generate the attack produced. So for example, if we're looking at Swift Smash T3, Tech Arts Type 3, if you are to hit at Element Pursuit being at meter 0 to 100, it requires 4 Swift Smashes. You hit 4 charged Swift Smashes in a row, you will generate Element Pursuit. So our attack hit for Swift Smash equals 4. So once we have these numbers, we then want to calculate E potency. What does E potency stand for? It stands for effective potency. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the attack produced, that being Element Pursuit in this example. We're going to take its potency and we're going to divide it by attack hit. Once again, if we're looking at Swift Smash Type 3, charged Swift Smash Type 3, that is 4. So we want to divide AP pot by AH, or AGH. We also want to do the same thing for its frames. We want to take the AP frames, so Element Pursuit's frames, and divide it by the number of hits, in this case 4. So now we have E pot and E frames. The next thing we do is we want to calculate E DPS. And how we do that is essentially we need to create the overall E potential, which is going to be your attack generator, so your potency of Swift Smash, plus your calculated E pot, divided by your attack generator's frames. Ooh, that's a mistake. Not divided, but plus E frames. Once again, this is a typical DPS formula. Now you're just getting it for your effective DPS. So I've gone through a little bit, but let's just look at what this looks like when we actually apply numbers. So once again, we're going to use Charge Swift Smash T3. If we just look at Charge Swift Smash T3, right now, due to the update for Techter, its potency, base potency, excuse me, is 770. But we can add another 76 potency if we take into account an on-element photonic fury. We also know roughly, even though it's charged, but we'll just work with what it is, essentially. We know that it's 130 frames. We also know that it has an attack hit for generating element pursuit of 4. And so now, of course, you can use this and you can just calculate the base DPS for Charge Swift Smash. Now, once again, element pursuit, its on element potency is 1200. Its frames is roughly 84. You might see 83 in some places. I just rounded up to keep the numbers even. It's not that big of a deal. So what are we doing? We're going to take element pursuit. This is our attack produced. We're going to take its potency and its frames. We're going to divide them both by 4. What does that give us? That gives us an E pot of 300 and E frames of 21. So now what do we need to do? We need to add those back to the attack generators, back to Charge Swift Smash. That gives us 1,146 potency and 151 frames. Running the DPS calculator, that essentially gives you 455 DPS. So the best way to think about this is that if you were just to do a raw Charge Swift Smash, and I use raw purposely, and we'll get into that in a little bit, effectively you are doing 455 DPS. Because without Swift Smash, in this example, there is no element pursuit. We can essentially treat them as the same thing. Now, I brought up that compound techniques do not build pursuit. So let's look at our compound technique DPS. Well, we know Brant Scion without blot is 512 DPS. Bomelgion without blot is 501 DPS. And Zandion is roughly 562. It might be 563. The number might be slightly off. So you're looking at this and you're looking at the Charge Swift Smash E DPS and you're like, whoa, well, it would appear that in situations where it makes sense, I should be using compound techniques. So a situation where this makes sense is down states. The enemy is down, right? However, what about an active play? Do these rules still hold true? Well, Swift Smash is a very, very nice property. And that is both versions, but specifically the charge version, also has the ability to generate guard frames. And so if you have the skill Wand Element Reflect learned, that guard frame will generate another 76 potency. Now, this changes things. Specifically, you'll notice that instead of having an attack hit or an attack generator hit of 4, we now have an attack generator hit of roughly 3. I put that roughly there because it's not an exact science, but essentially it will take 3 Charge Swift Smashes to generate 1 element pursuit. So if we look at Charge Swift Smash T3, actually, excuse me, if we look at Charge Swift Smash by itself, it generates 600 element pursuit. Now you multiply this by 3 because enemies, specifically bosses, have special modifiers. But effectively, you need to get 10,000 element pursuit meter to have element pursuit. So if charge swift smash T3 does 600 times 3, which is 1800, there you go. However, charge swift smash T3 adds, I said 1800, so yeah, adds an additional 300. And so what's 600 plus 300? That's 900. What's 900 times 3? It's 2700. So right here, this 770 alone is giving you 2700. This is where you start to see, oh, this is how 4 swift smashes kind of come into play. But now you add the guard frames and the photonic fury. They're technically both photonic fury. They each give 100. Or they give 300 each when you take into account the multipliers. So when you add 600 to 2700, what do we get? We get 3,300. 3,300 times 3 swift smashes, 9,900. So we're just shy 100 pursuit meter to get a full pursuit. But that could easily be corrected with a normal attack, because normal attacks generate photonic fury level 1, which is another 100. So you're actually going to have more. You're always going to overflow. If you look at my wand rotation, you're probably going to be in a situation where you already have meter. And so that's why I put roughly 3 hits, because in practice, you're probably not starting from 0 after using an element pursuit. Now, I did skip through the math. This is going to change our EPOT and E-frames, because now instead of dividing by 4, we're going to divide this by 3. So your EPOT's going to go to 400. Your E-frames are going to go up to 28. That's just how the math works. But the math still remains the same. Oop, don't want to spoil the next round. So now we're looking at 502 EDPS. We went from 455 effective DPS to 502, all because we had this guard frame. Now, why is this important? Well, when the enemy is downed, I can't get guard frames. But when the enemy or the boss is attacking, I can get guard frames. And so if I'm effective with using charge swift smash, which you'll see in my videos, I relatively am. Can't say I'm perfect, but definitely it's something I'm comfortable using in boss fights. Interesting. Should I really be using these compound techniques when the enemy is attacking if I can effectively use swift smash? When you look at Fomeligan, you're like, hell no. And to be completely honest, you really want to burn Barant Scion for 10 DPS. Granted, yes, Zandian is crazy, but you don't want to be without Zandian when an enemy is downed and only relying on your charge swift smash. So this gives you credence to say, hey, when it comes to attack prioritization, I should prioritize charge swift smash during the active phase over my compound techniques. Most of the time, not all the time. There's situations because the EDPS is negligible. But once the enemy is downed, now there's a difference that is important. And so now I want to play, I said I had a spoiler. The spoiler is we're bringing back Encore Jump. Yes, Encore Jump was nerfed, and just imagine if it wasn't nerfed. Imagine if we still had the original Encore Jump. But Charge Swift Smash has the ability to produce one Encore Jump. For those who might not be familiar or forget, Encore Jump is a bouncer add-on skill. And when you do a double jump next to an enemy and you touch them with that double jump, you will regain the ability to jump again, but you will also do 25 potency and damage. This refreshes, or this has a cooldown of now 1 second. So you can't do it over and over and over and over again. You can only do it once every 60 frames or 1 second. But we can now add this to our to our Charge Swift Smash with guard frames. And so that's 770 for the base potency of Swift Smash, 76 for the photonic fury that it generates, 76 for the guard frame photonic fury, and 25 potency for Encore Jump. And then everything else remains the same. And we notice, what did Encore Jump give us? It gave us 512 effective DPS. So now, during the active phase, if you can do an Encore Jump and your guard frame on Swift Smash, you're effectively doing the same amount of DPS as Barant Scion. And so then you ask yourself, oh, well, should I use Barant Scion during active phase? Should I use Zandian during active phase? Sure, Zandian is way more DPS, but Zandian is also 196 frames. So we know for sure if I use Zandian, I'm going to be missing one chance of doing a charged Swift Smash, potentially an Encore charged Swift Smash. But that's only 130 frames. There's still 66 frames. There's a possibility within that 66 frames, I can charge Encore Jump. Oh my goodness, say that 5 times fast. Encore Jump, charge Swift Smash with guard frames again in preparation for another attack. So is this 562 DPS, is that really a priority? Or should I say, you know what? I'm willing to take that hit during the active phase because in the down phase, this is over 100 DPS more. This is where I'm going to get the most value, and I'm not really going to lose that much in the grand scheme of things here because I can only use my compound technique, specifically Zandian, every minute. Because once you use Zandian, it's got a cooldown. You can't use it back to back even though you have stocks. So that 562 DPS comes with a lot of conditions. Charged Swift Smash comes with 25 DPS or even less depending on your setup and your PP reduction. And so now what you can do is, you can do this for any attack. You know, you can do this for Wave Crash. But of course, the E potency, the E frames are going to be smaller just because Wave Crash takes more resources to build Element Pursuit. You can do this with a normal attack. You can do all of these different things with other weapons to really understand, you know, it's like, hey, are compound techniques within a certain condition really the best attack? Or should I be trying to build Element Pursuit as quickly as possible? Because if I'm using Charged Swift Smash, effectively they're equivalent. Now, I think off the top of my head, if we're looking at Wave Crash 1, the first hit, I think if you were to do this math, depending on the numbers you're referencing, you're looking at about 460 effective DPS, which, as you see, which is interesting, it is more than Charged Swift Smash. This has consequences for when, hey, can I get a Charged Swift Smash off? No. Okay, I should go Wave Crash because Wave Crash should be fast enough to where I should get a counter. And then you can also do the effective DPS of your wand counter. Now with Wave Crash, what I would say is you want to look at its effective DPS, but also in conjunction with wand lovers, because Wave Crash is going to be your tool that accesses skip arts, which gives you access to normal 3, normal 4. Normal 4 having the same Element Pursuit building capabilities as the base Charged Swift Smash, which is 600. And so even then you can calculate, hey, what is my Wand Lover's effective DPS combo? You take the effective DPS of Wave Crash, you take the effective DPS of N3 and N4, and then you kind of get a sense of, okay, Wave Crash, N3, N4. What is that effective DPS? Once again, bring this back to the other options when you're looking at, okay, how should I prioritize this? Which one's better than the other one in a certain situation? As you can imagine, if you were out of compound techniques and you had a downed enemy, but you had Wand Lover, then you know, well, Wave Crash 1 is 460 E DPS by itself when you cancel it. So with Wand Lovers, that's going to probably be even higher. So there you go. There's my attack prioritization. And so now this 4-part video series. So you've got wand rotations, compound techniques, wand lovers, and now you have your attack prioritization. So now you can understand, okay, what is that effective DPS when it comes to building element pursuit? And once again, that is the key, is building element pursuit as quickly as possible. Now applying that to your attacks and then figuring out, okay, now what should I be doing? And so this is probably a simpler flow chart that once you understand the effective DPS of different attacks and you can create your prioritization hierarchy, you can then go back to the wand rotation flowchart in that video and it should click now, because you'll be like, oh, okay. If I look at this from an effective DPS standpoint, I understand how all of this is working now. So I hope this was fun. I like doing these things. And I'll probably, if you all like these things as well, do them more often where it makes sense. I just don't know where it makes sense, but if it makes sense, I'll start doing these. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, leave them down below, and I will catch you all next time.